Who is Amy Pennock?
I know, right?
Welcome to another episode of You Can't Make This Shit Up. I'm your host, Joel Hoxley and David Washington. This is a Jay and Washington Network production. We have with us let's go with this, school board member and candidate for Supervisor of Elections for Seminole County, Amy Pennock. Let's have her introduce herself. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Amy.
It's a beautiful day here in Orange County and Seminole County, Central Florida. I am Amy Pennock. I am a Seminole County resident since 2009. Previously, you lived in Orange County. Moved to Seminole County because of the school district. We had kids. It was enticing, and have enjoyed living and growing our children up in Seminole County. In 2018, decided to run for the school board and have served Seminole County residents since then at the school board of Seminole County. And recently have decided, with all of the legislative constraints, I have done what I can on the school board as a legislator. I still have 3 girls in the school district, and so I still plan to advocate as a parent, but I think that I can get more done as a parent than I can as a legislator on the school board or as a school board member. And so I have decided to take my skills to another office that's much needed.
So before you actually got on the school board, what occupation were you in? I think that's a key to how successful you plan on being as a supervisor of elections.
Sure. I own a consulting firm, and my background is forensic accounting.
Okay.
I grew up in the world of finance and numbers, and was always intrigued by forensic shows. And in early 2000s, I worked for Columbia HCA for Lucerne Medical Center, which happened to be owned by Rick Scott. If you follow the history there, Columbia HCA got in a little bit of trouble for Medicare, Medicaid fraud issues. And I, being on the inside at an entry level position in the finance department, kind of watched how the media played that out versus how it really happened. And at the same time, FAU came out with a master's in forensic accounting, and I said, aha, that's what I want to do. And so I went and got my master's in forensic accounting. I have an MBA, and I started a business providing CFO outsourced services for organizations to help them first build a really strong financial system, to understand their financials, but also to help put controls in place to make sure that they understood how fraud could happen and to prevent it from happening. It can happen in IT, in HR, in payroll, in vendor, in any aspect of our lives, fraud can happen. And so I have spent the last 20 years studying and working with organizations to recognize red flags and prevent fraud.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, your most how to put this, really, what do you take away from the school board as your best, the best thing you accomplished? You know, I mean, you're going to miss it, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
what is it that you can say, look, this made a difference?
Gosh, there's so many things. My biggest accomplishment, I'm going to say, I am the chair of the audit committee, and so we look at a lot of different things to make sure that the school board and the school district is in compliance with financial and IT, et cetera, et cetera. And a little known fact about what the school board members do. We are disciplinary hearing officers.
Okay.
And so if a student gets in trouble to the extent where they're going to be expelled or assigned to a different school for their consequence, they can come sit in front of a hearing officer to, much like in court, and try to get that inconsequence changed.
Okay.
And what I would see a lot in those hearings were, from one student to the next, very different paperwork, very different documentation, a lot of challenges, not consistent. So one school may be doing it really well, and one school maybe have some challenges. Another school just didn't have a discipline problem, so when they turned their paperwork in, it wasn't great. And so I have advocated really since the beginning to automate the system, to make sure, if this box needs to be checked, or this process has to be done, or something needs to be reviewed before it gets to the level of coming in front of a hearing officer, that's all done. I've been advocating for that kind of automation. And this past month, our auditors also recognized and recommended automation. And the school district is now they started working on automating some things as much as they could, but now there's a more concerted effort in automating the system to make sure we are consistent in documentation for the students that are in those challenges. Because some of them should not have ever made it to this point, but because of the documentation that had to be done.
Wow, that could be a very daunting experience for a student.
Yes.
To go through all those levels and then be in front of the board.
Yes. Wow. And I will say, as tough as those moments are, it is very refreshing. I had a disciplinary hearing 2 weeks ago where the student got pulled into some stuff because his friend challenged him to. And he didn't know the difference. He didn't know better.
Oh no.
He didn't. You could see it. You could tell. And walking through the conversation, his mom impacted me so significantly because she said to her son, and she said it in front of us, and we all just kind of gasped. He was challenged to do what he did. Okay. And she said, I told him, no one is ever going to challenge you to do good.
That's true.
No one is ever going to dare you to do good. They're going to dare you to do something not so good. And I sat back and I was like, wow, this, and she said, I never wanted to be that mom that complained or argued or came in front of the school board, but here we are. And ultimately, the student got a second chance.
Good. Okay.
Because you can just tell going through these situations. And his mom reached out to me the next day and just said, thank you. My son was very happy to know that another person other than his parents listened to him.
Wow. That could be life-changing for this student. The lessons learned.
Absolutely.
And the second chance.
And a second chance. Because if you sometimes we have to look and help break that cycle of pain or hurt or poverty or whatever they're going through, to give them a second chance. And then it's up to them to take that second chance and go with it.
David was a counselor. In social
therapist,
work
social worker,
so you understand.
crisis counselor. Yes.
When you say something like that, you can just feel coming from across the room how that's what he would try to do. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
And that's experience. Is beyond. You bring that with you forever.
Yeah.
But
yes.
That kind of really want to go through when the school board was having a lot of people show up, because usually you sit in a very quiet room, and it's disappointing to see so few people
engaged.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when it did become controversial, and there was a lot going on, what do you take away from that when you actually had an engaged audience, and it wasn't always pleasant.
Yeah. So first and foremost, when I accepted the role of being a school board member, because ultimately, if you're going to choose to run, you accept that you're going to take the good, bad, the ugly. It's my obligation to listen to those people. It's my obligation to listen to the parents, to the students, to the community members, because that's who I serve. And whether I like or agree, whether it's uncomfortable, whether it's joyous,
Sure.
it is my obligation to listen to them. It helps me form my opinion. It helps me form my decision. And by not listening to them, you're disenfranchising the community and honestly the school district. Because there have been times where I've walked in a room and I've thought, this is how I'm going to vote because this is how I believe. But then I heard that parent come in and say, no one's going to dare you to do good. And then you realize, wait a minute, I thought about this all wrong. Or I thought about this, or I need to think about this differently, or I need to expand my horizons and think about what these parents say and how it has affected them or how these students have affected them. I love it when people come in and engage with us because that's what we need to hear. There's 5 of us. We are the governing board. We do not operate the entity. That is delegated to the superintendent. We have 67 schools.
Okay.
We're not in every school, so we don't know what's going on at all times. We don't know how a policy is affecting a student or a teacher. And so when they come and they advocate, it helps us to understand how to do our jobs better as a governing body.
Yeah, so like this, so people don't, a lot of what we do is we try to inform about local politics. And what you're giving us is incredible. People don't realize the commission has a county, but they have 7 municipalities that they deal with.
Right.
And they have to work with those 7 municipalities. But when it comes to the school districts, we have one. We have one school district. So you have all the schools, no matter what city they're in, no matter what what part of the county they're in. You only have one, school district, and that means a lot of weight on you. And this is not a full-time job,
It's
but it's
not.
a full-time responsibility.
Yeah.
And can you kind of explain that to people, because you're not getting a full paycheck for this job, and yet it's taking every moment of your time. Your phone is ringing off the hook at times, and sometimes it's quiet and it's too quiet, and you know something's going to come hit you over the head.
Sure. So the role of the school board member is the governance, is policy setting, is to hire and the superintendent and delegate the operations to her, set policy and discipline. That is our role. The only expectation in the Florida statute is that we show up to board meetings and work sessions.
Oh, wow.
That is the only expectation.
Wow.
We take it further because we are so passionate about our school district and what
Okay.
we do and our kids and our families that we show up to everything that we can. We go to graduations. We go to, last night was AP Art Awards, where students got recognized for their art at Seminole State. We have reflections awards through the PTA. We go to as many things as we can because we want to show our presence. We want to know that our school district staff, teachers, students, families have our support and that we are accessible. There is a reasonable expectation from the general population. If you're an elected official, you have to be accessible.
Wow. Go ahead, David.
Member Pennock, may I call you Amy?
Yes, please.
Excellent, great. I've got so many questions from book bans and woke and
Yes.
therapy and available mental health services. But what's really, really dear to our hearts is legislation that Governor DeSantis signed into law that would increase civic education, civic engagement in the schools. And that, when I heard about it and read the law, I was like, yes. And I'd just like to know, how far has the Seminole County School District has come with increasing civic education in the school district?
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to touch just on a couple things that you said really quick. Book bans. I do not believe in book bans, but we do have Florida statute that we have to follow.
Right.
Any book that is in our schools has to meet the Florida statute and has to match with the curriculum that is in our schools. If it doesn't, I'm liable for that personally. Personally,
That's right.
the school board, the school district. And so there have been times we've had to have hard discussions on book challenges to make sure that they meet the right age appropriate curriculum for the type of book it is.
Sure.
So book bans, I don't listen. We learn through reading, we learn through art, we learn through music, we learn through those different conversations. Like I said earlier, legislation is probably, we are so legislatively strapped as school board members.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people think, oh, you're a school board member, you can go in and you can fire this teacher because I don't like them.
Oh, wow.
We cannot do that. We can't hire anybody. That is not our role.
Right.
The great thing about Seminole County is when I first became a school board member, I was in awe about every decision that is made. It is thoughtful, it is thorough, and it is very forward thinking.
Okay.
And so the decisions that are made now, we always look 5-10 years out to see how it is going to impact our students. Is it what our community needs? Is it what our business partners need? So we've always had a really strong civics program in our schools.
Excellent.
We always have. We didn't have to do much to meet what DeSantis had put into law.
Okay.
So we were there. We've been there with a lot of other initiatives that he's come forward to. We have our security partnership with the sheriff
Okay.
was the first one in the state of Florida. They look to us a lot of times for what we have set in precedent to implement throughout the state. And so I love the civics piece because, like you said, the lack of engagement is really sad. The lack of
Yes.
engagement in politics in general is really sad.
Yes.
I always say that if you can't vote the bottom of your ballot up, then you really don't know how to vote, because the most important ones are on the
Our
bottom.
local.
They're all the local
That's
ones.
right.
Local.
Because the change that you need. When I was at a bar and I was hearing this lady, bartender, she was complaining about the children and I moved to Seminole because I wanted I wanted better and the discipline, like what you were talking about. And I said, I can give you Abby Sanchez's phone number. I mean, you can talk directly to the school board member. And she looked at me and she went, "Who?" I said, "The school board that you're telling
Right.
me that you're going to have to go deal with?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk to one of them?
Yeah.
They're accessible." Her eyes, like, she looked at me like I had, who is this guy? He came into our bar because I was waiting for my son to get out of his work, which was right there. And I'm like, yeah, your daughter doesn't have to go on this by herself.
Yeah.
So
Reach out to us. That's what we're there
it's
for, to
like-
help advocate for you.
But
hmm
how does she not? You have kids in the school system.
Yeah.
You're now going through some discipline with your children. They're rebelling. It's that age.
Yeah.
Where do you turn? That for her not to know was eye-opening to me.
So a lot of things that I learned on my first campaign for school board is, knock on doors. I don't vote for school board because I don't have kids in the school district.
You pay those taxes.
And what you said exactly is the reason I ran for school board first, because it was personal to me. It was a mission match to me because I had kids in the schools and I needed to be engaged and active, and that's where I knew I could make the biggest impact. It wasn't at state, it wasn't at federal, it was at local. And when I hear people say, "Well, I don't vote for the school board because I don't have kids in school. It's not." Blah, blah, blah. Well, you should. We are the largest taxing authority in the county. Mm-hmm. We have the ability to up your taxes,
And they wouldn't know because they're
and
not
you wouldn't
engaged.
know because you're not engaged. We have the ability to change your future. We are educating future doctors and lawyers and political engaged in environment. We're educating your plumbers. You're going to need someone to come in and fix your car.
That's right.
And that's what we're doing. And you've got to get engaged with that and vote for that.
And Amy, to take that a little bit further, in regards to the students, back to this civic education, civics engagement, is the young people, as we were talking earlier, our team, our associates are either students or graduates of UCF. And so we made that investment in the youth. And they're working on a project to engage the younger voters and to get them more involved, because we know
Wonderful.
they're not voting the way they could be in larger numbers.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing that you have this group of young people who are there, available, and again, going back to DeSantis's signing of the civics legislation, an opportunity to get them more engaged. And it's good to hear that Seminole County is ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
good to hear.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, I could talk school board all day, but that's not why you're here. We're excited to know. Look, there comes a moment you have to go with your family, because your family is going to be that support chain. And I tell any politician when they come to me, how does your family feel about this? That's like the first thing I ask.
Yep.
Because if they're not bought it, you can't do this alone. So what was it that made that decision? Look, it's time that I leave the school board. It's in good hands, or whatever that decision was. Kind of walk me through that decision so that voters that pay attention to our show know, what was that decision? What was that energy that says, okay, that's the job I need to do now?
Sure. I'm going to take it back about 8 years. And one of my friends said, as a business owner, you're out networking all the time. Why don't you go and run for office? And I was like, no way. Politics is gross. That's the perception our kids these days have of politics as national news.
Oh, yes.
It's not local news. It's what's in the news. And so just over the last year, watching local news and national news talk about election integrity and, was the election stolen? Do we have challenges? And then really reflecting on what I was able to accomplish, or what I'm able to accomplish on the school board going forward. I felt it was a really good time, and the SOE at that time had made the decision not to run. And so I said, it's my time to take my skills where they're very much needed, to help bridge the gap between what's actually going on in that office and what our community hears, and really work on making sure Seminole County is the best, not just for school districts, but for elections. The BOCC is working on making sure it's the best, the BOCC and each municipality. With my background, that really kind of just all of the discord talking about election integrity and faulty equipment and hanging chads, from way back when. Let me use my skills to really make sure Seminole County has very strong belief that our elections are solid in Seminole County.
And I want to point out, you said it very clearly, there was a direct communication from the Supervisor of Elections that he had no intention of running again. So this played huge into the fact that, look, we can't vacate this seat. We have to have somebody in there. So I want to be clear on that's part of that decision.
Yeah.
So, it's not easy to go, hey, I'm going to jump off the school board and take on a responsibility, which is, a constitutional office. Like
A full-time
job.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And my family is very supportive. I will say one of my daughters is disappointed because she likes an in on the school board. But it's going to be a change, and it's a change that I'm up for and I'm ready for. And it's something that we've got to make sure our community understands the importance of voting and engagement at all levels, And that's one of the roles that the SOE needs to play. And that's one that I'm really going to work in engaging our students and the younger generation to understand. Let's feed off of that extra civics, and let's bring it to the community and make sure that we're getting those kids engaged.
You took my next comment or question right out of my mouth about, bringing the youth to more involvement, civic involvement as supervisor of elections. So you're right there. Good.
I had a conversation with a group a couple weeks ago, and they said, what do you think needs to happen? I said, listen, we need ambassadors out there in the community that understand. You come and let me train you. When I'm the SOE, let me train you on what happened, what was good, what was bad. Let's do a debrief on this election, and let's talk about it. And then let's communicate it out to the community. The community, if they don't know, they're just going to fill it with their own assumptions. And so let's be very transparent. Let's communicate with the community. This is what we learned. This is what we're fixing. This is what went really well. And let's get a group of ambassadors to really be out on the ground, talking the talk and saying,
very good idea.
This is what Amy shared with us. This is what they're doing to fix it. This is what went well. This is what we're looking at changing, going forward. And again, in the school district, I can't be at all schools at all the time. I can't be at all functions all the time. And as a SOE, you can't either. You can't be in every municipality. We can't, we have almost 500,000 people, so you can't be in front of them all the time. That's when you really use your network of support. And let's get ambassadors out there and really make sure that the public supports this office.
Okay, I promised her no gotcha questions, but now I'm starting to think. You have to run in a primary. This is a partisan race, correct?
This is a partisan
So
race,
now
yes.
the Supervisor of Elections just a few days ago has finally actually put his paperwork in. He's changed his mind, and he's going to run. Now, that puts you in that category because you have to run against him.
Yeah.
And the Democrat, I don't assume the Democrat has an opponent yet.
Correct.
That kind of gives a free road. So how do you take this message to the Republican Party that, hey, I'm the right person at this time, because it's going to be kind of odd.
Sure. It's a tough spot to be in. It's no kidding. When we look at elections, party bias is a downfall, I think, of anybody's voting. When you go in and you vote straight D and straight R, I have always said, get to know the candidates and vote the best person for that role. Don't just vote, your party, because you may not get someone that's qualified to be in that seat. And so I have been out talking to all the Republican groups. Here's my background. Here's my skills. Here's where I can reassure you as the party or as an individual that our election here in Seminole County was safe. So please get to know the skills. I understand he's been in the office. There's been a lot of challenges with some of the elections. There's been challenges with other things. I think my skills can offset those challenges and make our community comfortable that our election process is solid.
Okay. Now, the responsibilities of the Supervisor of Elections, I kind of want to, what I know about them is you're going to have to be somebody who engages for leases, short-term leases, and you're going to have to be engaged with making sure that you're hiring. You're doing the hiring. So people don't realize the people that are at the polls, they're getting paid, and they're giving hours and hours of time. You know, those are the things that, are challenging enough, but that's like several polling places. You've really thought this thing through, right? I'm trying to scare you, right?
Yeah, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. So we have 82 polling places in Seminole County. So yes, you do have to staff those for early voting day.
Right.
And not a challenge that scares me. Again, let's go back to the youth and let's get them engaged. This is how you get them to see the process.
Yes.
Right?
That's correct.
I have students working on my campaign. because they want to get involved. They want to understand the process. And so let's start building that bank of volunteers and ambassadors. Those same people that come in and poll work can be the ambassadors to say, yeah, this is what went well and this is what I experienced. And they're the ones that are bringing those communications back to the SOE's office to share what the challenges they had. And let's build that bank. I understand over the past couple of years, it's been a challenge getting those poll workers in. I'm up for a challenge. I have, yes, we have the same people here in Seminole County that we can pull from, but through my resources and having been sitting on the school board since 2018, I bring a whole different group of resources, a whole different group of people that have supported me, that I have helped support them, that are willing to do what needs to be done to get the job done. And so it's not a challenge I'm scared of. I know that there's a solid base of who they've used in the past, and let's use that and let's build on it and make it better.
Well, I mean, Castleberry decided to close down a whole park for 58, had to go vote someplace else. So, I mean, those are challenges.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. But here's my question, because I really drives me crazy. In Massachusetts, nobody works on election day. No student goes to school. It's a weekday. Nobody, because we use the actual schools in Massachusetts when I was there. I would literally, I was at Downey Elementary School. My mother brought me back to school on a day off so she could vote. So, what could the school board? This is just, I think, could they make it a holiday? Could they say, look, let's not have school on that day, and just free the parents up so they can vote, be with their kids?
The school district could pick that as a holiday. We can close the school when we do our calendars. We do them every 2 years. We have to. Again, there's a lot of things that go into building a school calendar. You have to be in school 180 days. Correct. Yeah. Certain amount of hours, and so that could be built into it if it becomes a priority. We also have to look at what are all the priorities, though, of getting those kids educated, because there's a lot of legislation that comes in that mandates what has to be done. Would be nice if it was a state holiday. Correct. Because that would make everything so much easier. It would make everything so much more enforceable. But there's a lot of challenges with closing a school for a holiday, because there's a lot of working parents. There's a lot of single parents that work multiple jobs. You take them out of school, but they're still working. What do you do? So there's different challenges that you have to think about. Access to voting is a big controversial issue. There's a lot of people that want more early voting. There's a lot of people that want less early voting. There's a lot of people that do not want vote by mail. Right.
No excuse.
They only want day of voting. Right. And to me, I have kind of watched the trends, and our older generation likes to vote by mail. They are the ones that traditionally vote. So why take that away from them? Mm-hmm. They are the ones that need to teach our younger generation the importance of civics, right? They were drafted. They went through depressions. They understood the impact of their vote. And to take that away from them pains me, because that's so personal to them.
Amy, in regards to access to the ballot, how much leeway does the Supervisor of Elections has in expanding or reducing early voting or drop boxes? I know there's legislation that's out there, but how much realistically does the Supervisor of Elections have to change those things?
You can do more. You cannot do less. So statute is very specific on early voting days and times. Yes. You cannot do less than that. Okay. You can do more. You just can't do less.
Now, Seminole County has been one of those ones that's done less. I mean,
done the minimum. It's done what is legislatively required.
Okay.
Right. So we don't have extra days. So when I work in Orange County, and I'm working with David, we're at the polls, and then I have to say, David, I can now go to Seminole because they're finally open. But nobody's ever come to you as a school board member since you've been there to ever address voting day, did
No,
they?
never.
So this is the first time you've ever
It's the
had
first time that question has ever come up.
'Cause
Yeah.
I'm just want to protect the fact that I brought that up because I don't go to the school board.
Right.
But it's never been asked of you, correct?
It's never been asked. Not while I have been on there.
I would
Correct.
ask you to, have kids in
Yeah.
school, out of school on Veterans Day, but, that doesn't happen in Seminole County.
Right.
I don't know
Well,
what.
and Jewish holidays and,
there's just way too many.
let's,
So
we could go
many
down the
days,
line.
yes.
There's,
How long
yeah.
does it take? I'm back to school. How long
Here it
does
goes.
it take to put that calendar together?
We have a calendar committee that actually
Oh.
meets to do that, and they have to. At this point, it's kind of pretty automated, but we have to take in conjunction the teachers union and their required contract days off, and when they can come back and when they can't. You have to take those into account. You have to take into account federal holidays. Planning days. You have to take into account. You have to build in hurricane days.
Right.
Up
Right,
north, we
that's
had
right.
snow
Yes,
days.
Yes.
Up in New England, we had February vacation, so
Yes.
we literally got out of school in February because we knew the storms happened.
Yes.
Right.
So
Yes.
You all had it bad. You,
So that's
you all
why-
had it worse in
So
Chicago.
that's why
I'm
we
from
don't-
Kansas. We had it.
Okay,
we
so
had it
yeah,
there
so
too.
you know also.
So when you guys see that fluctuation of Northerners coming down to your parks, it's because they're on vacation.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's a lot that goes into it, into creating, those days that when you take off, when we start, you have to look at a lot of many factors. And so I don't know how long the committee meets, but again, they do it every 2 years. So a 2-year cycle, the calendar's released. It should be coming up this next year because 2 years ago we approved the 2-year calendar.
And I find it easier to find the calendar nowadays with my granddaughter. I'm always looking
Yeah.
to say, like, do we have school? Because I'm confused because Orange and Seminole are so close together.
Right.
And when you guys have different
days and
that
different-
kind
yeah.
of throws me up.
Yeah.
Joel, we talked about Veterans Day. Is Veterans Day a day off?
It's
for
a
us?
it's a state holiday, but it's not. The school board has the option to
Yeah.
keep it open, so they keep the school open in
Okay.
Seminole County,
All right.
and I believe Orange County does
Yeah.
also.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's that holiday they don't care about. Yeah, they don't care about.
Which
that.
is unfortunate
Well,
because
Memorial Day is probably the more important to us veterans, anyways. Because if you were open on Memorial Day, then we would have pickets out there.
Hey, here's my problem with that. Why do we celebrate when people have passed? Why can't we
Right,
celebrate them while
celebrate them.
they're still alive?
Exactly. And, with the recent wars, we have a lot of veterans, particularly here in Florida, that we should be celebrating that specific day. And our kids, again, back to civic education, I think that's a great opportunity for the young people to understand, the government and the sacrifices that individuals have made for what we call America.
Yeah.
I want to go back to mail-in ballots because I want to emphasize something. The Republican Party, the party of the people, got rid of the absentee ballot
No
to
excuse.
open it up.
Right.
So no excuses. You can now have mail-in ballots because they knew by expanding that, we would have a better idea of what was coming on Election Day.
Sure.
And how much extra effort we would have to play. So we created what was called the ballot the absentee,
Chase.
Ballot chasing.
The ballot
Yeah.
chasing.
Right.
So we would know who had those ballots, and we
Yeah.
would reach out and get on the phone and call them and well, I guess harass is the wrong word, but we would challenge them to get that in
Right.
as
Yeah.
quickly as possible on the assumption they were going to vote our ballot, and to see this odd change in the Republican reaction to mail-in ballots surprises me all the time. And I'm not challenging you on this. I'm trying to challenge a party that created a system that because their leader,
Right.
challenges this system,
Still does.
it doesn't make it any less safe.
Yeah.
I've heard all these things about you can identify the ballot. Well, yeah, in a primary, but you don't know a Republican ballot from a Democrat ballot during the general election. But they'll swear to me there are. What is this pushback, and how are you going to talk to the Republican Party to say, look, I'm going to be that person that's going to do the right thing? What is that message you're sending to the
Sure.
Republican Party? Because I, as a Republican, have a hard time in a conversation. I look puzzled, like my face never hides anything. I stand there and I go, are you being serious with me? Like, I love history.
Yeah.
So that's how I know who did this.
Yeah. So again, going back to our older generation are typically the ones that vote by mail. I can't help what happens in Georgia or North Carolina or California or Orange County.
Sure.
My responsibility when I become the SOE of Seminole County is Seminole County.
Correct.
One of the roles post audit is to do a hand count audit. And I don't know if you know this, but it's one contest, one precinct.
Yes.
That's not enough. That's not enough. Who says I'm picking one precinct that had 5 voters show up? That's not a good sampling of auditing after an election. So I want to expand again. You can't do less, you can do more.
Okay.
Let's do more hand counting post to make sure you have the confidence in the current election. And let's do that every single election. I understand vote by mail. Vote by mail is a huge concern for people. We've got to have someone in that office that is trustworthy, that can toe the line, that can argue, that can be on the opposite of your face saying, I have gone through this process. There are no buckets of ballots over here or over there. Sure. This was a solid, clean election. Mm-hmm. And I'm that person to do that. I have done that on the school board. I have towed the line with voting by myself for or against items that were right or wrong. And so my history is there, and I'm going to bring it to the office.
Okay.
Well, I like to hear that. And now the key question is, and people, again, I'm trying to educate you, and I know Amy knows the answers, but she's going to have to go, if you vote for her, she's going to have to go to the commission, and she's going to have to advocate for a ballot. She's not the tax collector. She doesn't get to really have the money at her fingertips. She has to do that. And there's been a lot of controversy there about moving to a larger facility and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And, the controversy came up about this relationship. How are you going to build that relationship or do you already have that relationship mm-hmm. with the county commission? Seminole County Commission, is strong, and they've been mm-hmm. there for a while. They all have to go through elections. But how do you get your budget? See if you need that extra dime. What are you going to do?
Sure. I think first let me do a little bit of education. I'm not sure that everybody knows this, but the SOE's office is funded through the BOCC. Mm-hmm. That is where their budget comes from. It right. does not come from a special pot of money in Tallahassee. That's where it comes from. So you have to go to them, present your budget every year to get it supported and funded. I have a really great relationship with all of the BOCC, the commissioners. Part of what you have to do as an elected official is to work on building great relationships Indeed. With the people that you have to work with. Whether you like them or not, whether you agree with them or not, whether you're the same party or not, whether you're never going to get to the same answer at the end, you have to be able to work with them and build a relationship and respect them. Don't have to like them, but you have to respect them, and you have to show respect because they've earned the position. Just like we've talked about, you may not like the person in that office holder, but they gain that seat. Respect them, show that respect to them. And so in my world, let's sit down at the kitchen table and talk about it. Let's build those relationships. If it's over, pasta, because that's what's going to break the barrier of communication, let's sit down and talk about it. And I have no problem doing that. I know numbers. That's my background. And so being able to go in and be knowledgeable. One of the things that we do at the school board with the superintendent is prior to any school board meeting, we have a one-on-one to ask any questions that maybe we just need a little bit more information and come away with that to help us form our decision making when we sit at the dais. And that's something that I'm going to propose when I am the SOE, is to really sit down with the county commissioners when it becomes budget time, or if I have to ask for budget amendments, to sit down with the city commissioners and their staff to talk about elections challenges that they've had, because some have reached out and shared some challenges that they've had. Let's sit down and let's walk through those, and let's make sure that we have a clear communication path, and you understand what my expectations are and I understand what your expectations are, and let's formalize that and let's move forward.
Right.
Nice. So, I'm a conservative, so I have another pet peeve. Okay, Orange County. In Orange County, I don't have to find 5-6 stamps to throw on my ballot to go turn it in, right? The county commission has already approved that it's postage paid. So why am I being taxed to vote by mail in Seminole County? Well, to me, that's a tax. And I think that stamp, that's a tax. Like, I'm paying to vote because you send me a ballot and it doesn't say postage paid. I mean, if elected, is that something that I can challenge you or challenge the board to say, let's budget this, let's get that in the budget? Because I know if I send it in, the post office is going to deliver it. And you have a little tiny budget to cover it. And see, I gave you guys
The secret sauce,
so
right there.
I do have a small budget
Secret
for those
sauce.
that don't. But, no, could this be something that, as a conservative, that could be something like, hey, this should have been taken care of by
It's like common
Ertel or
sense.
by Anderson, or, hey, why is one county, a larger county, taking on that burden?
Sure.
So,
Yes, they
I mean,
should.
you're probably sitting here going, I never thought of that. Maybe you did, but.
Yeah. It's not something that I'm going to die on a hill for. If it is something that honestly we can fit into the budget, let's do. But I know right now with the way funding is and taxes are and the funding challenges, I don't know why it hasn't been built into the Seminole County budget. And so until I'm in there and can understand the history, why wasn't it? I suspect because people thought, well, you can either vote by mail or you can walk in. You can walk in and drop it off, and that's free-ish. You still have to pay gas and your time.
See, that's conservative thinking. See?
So, not understanding the history of why we have not chosen to pay the stamp to return your ballot, I would like to understand that a little bit more. Listen, I'm open to anything that is going to get people to the polls. And when I say polls, it doesn't mean physical poll, but voting. I'm going to take a little step further back into the civics education. Part of the role of the SOE is to go in and do voter registration of seniors.
That's right.
At all the high schools. And it has been done. It's done every year, and it's done really well, and I want to continue that. But apart from just getting them to register, let's get them actively engaged, right? The more voters that we can get engaged in the process, not just voting, I suspect will help us gain more ability and flexibility with funding.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
David, go.
It
You
makes
just
sense.
made another question for me.
I've got two more questions, and,
Yes.
then I'm done. The first one is thinking forward, technology-wise, and we like to call ourselves the political innovators. And one of the things that I like to learn about and see implemented sometime in the future is voting on the blockchain. And being able to vote over the internet, starting that maybe for a ballot initiative or a municipal election, but starting to use the technology that is readily available to everyone. We carry these devices in our pockets and in our cars, at homes, in the office. Why not start developing programs to use the blockchain, the internet to vote?
Sure. So going back to your question of why is the Republican Party pushing so hard not to allow for vote by mail? They want to go back to paper ballots as well. I've heard a lot of conversation. Not they. There's a group of individuals out there pushing to go back to the paper ballot.
Yes.
And my struggle with that is exactly what you said. We are in such an innovative society right now,
Right.
and technology and the security within technology is so advanced that why are we limiting ourselves to just paper ballots or just this type of access to vote?
We do online banking.
We do online banking. We do our healthcare online.
That's right.
We do a lot of things online. I will say I maybe have a little bit of PTSD when you say blockchain in Seminole County because of the former tax collector.
correct.
Yeah, see, yeah, that was
But
I-
right. But you shouldn't walk away.
You
from
shouldn't
it.
walk away from it,
Right.
but let's walk into that slowly. But it also has to come down from the legislature because right now it's not an allowed way for voting. And so my rule of thumb is to always follow the law. Always look to the law to be my guiding principle when making any decisions. And so until it's the law, we can't do it, but definitely something that we could look at very slowly and strategically to make sure that it is safe.
16 and 17-year-olds can pre-register to vote, correct?
I'm not sure about 16. 17 you can. You can pre-register, and then upon your 18th birthday, yeah.
I was thinking that may be a pilot program where, although they're unable to vote in an election, maybe a mock election using online technology, the blockchain, with them. Just something that
Yeah.
I've been thinking about.
That's an interesting concept. I like
Since
that.
they're always in front of a device of one type, whether
Yeah.
their laptops in school or a tablet
Yep.
or their own
Or their cell phones and on the
Exactly.
couch with the, yes.
They're used-
I have
they're
3
used to it.
teenagers doing the same thing.
Well,
They're used to it.
it would be exciting. It would be exciting that these schools that decide that they want to vote for a president, vice president for their
Right.
school. Well, wouldn't it be a wonderful experience to say, look,
Yeah.
we've secured the supervisor of elections to bring in the machines
Yeah.
and have you vote. So it's
And-
it's a real election feel, so they can say, you know what, that was pretty cool.
And some schools do that when it comes to their SGA processes.
Yes.
They bring in the SOE's office to come in and manage their elections so they can kind of go through that civics educational process.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's what I like to get back in. I did a project like that in Chicago years ago, something similar to that, and I'd love to get back to getting into the schools and being involved in, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not that one time. It's not just walking in and saying, all right, here's your voter registration, sign up. It's got to be ongoing and continuous, and you've got to be able to have that ongoing dialogue, not only with the teachers, but with the families so that their students get a constant flow of information on why civics is so important.
Nice. Well, mine's a pre-registration also. So, look, a lot of Republicans are having difficulties with voting all the time, and this is where you got to get through that primary to be able to challenge that Democrat. What do you tell the Republicans that will challenge you on pre-registration because they believe that this is just a way of getting more Democrats? Because young people, they're so liberal that you're really just trying to increase the Democrats. How is it? How do you break that that mindset? Because a lot of the young people that we're getting here with Jay in Washington are balanced.
Yes.
We find we
Yes.
find conservatives in college. We
Yes.
find liberals in college.
Yep.
And how do you say, look, these registrations are not all one-sided.
Sure.
That's true.
Communication, transparency, right? We talk about that a lot. You find what you look for. You find what you look for, right? There's news bias. You watch the channel that you look for to give you the news that feeds what your core beliefs are. And so numbers can lie, but they don't traditionally lie when you tell them in the manner in which they were given to you. And so one of the things that I have talked to some of the former staff, and I said, did you guys ever do like a post-election debrief about this election, how many people voted and and what went wrong and what went well, and issued a statement out to the public? They're like, no. And I'm like, well, I want to do
Really?
something like that.
Yes.
After action review.
Right. So when we have a big voter registration poll or event, why not share the statistics? Hey, this is how many R's, how many D's, how many NPAs, and how many people just decided not to register. And that's okay. Let's try and get them on the next go around. But that helped. Without information, again, you fill that pool with your own assumptions that you're looking for, that knowledge, that end result. And so my goal really is to share as much information as possible without breaking the integrity of the safety of the voting process.
Okay.
Is to make sure our community has as much information as they can to feel comfortable, and to really break down those dialogues of, well, they're only registering, extreme liberals or extreme right wings. That's not true.
Well, especially since the state is now highly registered Republican, that should be a comfort to the Republican Party. But how do people that hear you right now, how do they get in touch with you? What means do you have for them to get in touch with you for this campaign?
Sure. I am on Facebook, Instagram. I have a website, electamypennock.com. My cell phone is 407-406-4160. Leave a message. If you don't get me, I will call you back. My email is amy@amypennock.com. And again, it's my obligation to hear and to learn and to interact with those that are having concerns or compliments on what they're looking for in the next SOE. And so I am very accessible. I'm out at events all the time, except for when I'm at a water polo tournament with my kids or a softball tournament. I'll get back to you after that. But that's my obligation as an elected official, really, is to listen to the people. And that's what I intend to keep doing.
When voters look at their ballot, they're sitting there, standing there, what's your 30-second pitch to make sure that they pay attention to the down ballot when they go to the Supervisor of Elections section and they see the names? What's your pitch for them to remember?
Oh, that's a good one. Hadn't really thought that. A couple things. Someone said pen in Pennock for SOE. So just remember, my tagline is oh gosh, now I can't say it. I'm trusted and transparent. Because I have been on an elected official since 2018, and I've been very transparent. I have been known to call out inaccuracies and issues at the school board, and I don't have a problem doing that on the SOE's place either. So you can trust that I'm always going to do the right thing.
Excellent. Good.
So, donations and volunteers. How are you doing with that? And if our audience can help you, what do they need to do for those opportunities?
Sure. Okay, so my tagline's tested, trusted, and transparent. I'm going to go back to that because I had it.
I know what it is.
I know.
I have the pen, so I
You
know.
have the pen. I will leave you a pen.
Thank you.
There was my gotcha question. Oh my gosh.
But you brought it up.
Yes. So yeah, donations, obviously, because getting the word out to the community. I can only knock on so many doors by myself, and I can only talk to so many people by myself. So again, I need that group of ambassadors to help get out the word, knock on doors, help, make a donation if you can't. $5, $10, you can donate up to $1,000 per person or business to really help spread the word that I'm the right candidate for the SOE. I've got your back, and I'm going to make sure that you feel comfortable and you don't have to worry that our elections are not trusted at all. And so you can go to my website, you can sign up to volunteer. There's a donate page. There's a wealth of information on my background and what I stand for on my website. And you can reach out to me through my website as well.
Excellent.
And what are those volunteers going to be doing? Because, there's several jobs, correct? There's several things that they need to do.
Sure. So I'm doing events. I will be at a candidate meet and greet next April 10th. I will be at the Castleberry Earth Fest. So if anybody would like to come to that and work the booth, it's really just meeting people, getting them to be engaged with my campaign. We will be knocking on doors. We'll be doing call banking. We'll be doing mailers, so probably some envelope stuffing. And really just, even if you're not comfortable doing any of that, maybe be willing to host a small event, a friend raiser at your house or somewhere local to you that you could bring your friends in, and we can just have, a sit-down conversation like this about the next SOE.
Well, I am just absolutely, elated that you came here.
Yes,
and
we
that you
appreciate
had this
it.
opportunity. I hope that the message that is out there for everybody, and please use every bit of this that you need to chop it up, make shorts, because I know you're very active on social media right now, so I'm getting the ads already, so she's already targeted my house. So yes, I appreciate it, and just my final word is, look, if you're looking for new or change, then Amy's available. If you're a Republican, look, she's going to answer those questions that she just did with me, because I know you guys have questions about integrity. Look, I think she's available and she's accessible. I think that's what we found out today. David?
Member Pennock has been very gracious in joining us, and we really appreciate it, Amy.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
She's a great candidate. She's a great member of the Seminole County School Board. And for my friends in Seminole County, please do your research. Mm-hmm. Look into Amy's background, what she has to offer. She's a great candidate for Supervisor of Elections. And if there's anything that we can do, please let us know.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bring your facts, not your feelings.
Yes.
And Amy gets to bring us out. She gets the final word. What's your final word to the audience?
Yes.
Oh, Seminole County, make sure that you get out and do your research and vote for Amy Pennock in August and in November. And I look forward to serving you in this new role as the SOE.
Thank you. You can't make this shit up. Like, share. Make sure you share. If you support Amy, you share this with as many people as you possibly can, not just to promote our show, You Can't Make This Shit Up, but to promote the fact that she is your choice in August. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.